So this chart, anything in yellow is the important information. Keep in mind that for each biome, if you are aware of the climate, like you know the climate, which by definition is temperature and precipitation over long periods of time, you should be able to easily identify characteristics of plants and animals. And then the other thing you have to keep in mind is ecological importance of these biomes, which I'm going to cover now, and the major environmental problems. So something that I mean, a for sure test question is, what are terrestrial biomes determined by? And it's climate. That's the important thing, because that determines soil quality, that determines what kind of plants are going to live in the biome and what kind of animals are going to live in the biome. Any change in climate, which we're experiencing globally, is going to impact the biome, and the shift is always northward. So keep that in mind. All biomes suffer from climate change. So I'm saying everything that's in yellow, by the way. All biomes are going to have a unique, or all biomes share that they suffer from invasives. They suffer from degradation. And if you see the word temperate, you think of cool to average temperatures. If you see the word tropical, you think of warm to warmer temperatures. So we'll start with desert. And I'm doing this in order, I believe, of precipitation. So we're learning the first three biomes with the least precipitation. Then we go to grasslands, which is average. And then we go to forests, which have the most precipitation. So we start with desert. You want to know that it's extremely dry, little precipitation, and it's hot. It has cooler temperatures at night. The reason I say that is because one of the things you want to think of whenever you see climate is, what are characteristics of survival? So a desert, because it doesn't receive rain, you know that plants and animals are going to have some kind of ability to survive without water. So plants like succulents, which hold water, plants that are deep rooted, they could tap in. Now notice I didn't highlight this, but to be clear, if you don't know climate and you can't make the correlation, then you have to know these. So you might as well just highlight these. That's why they're bold. Okay. Why are animals nocturnal? Because they avoid the extreme heat during the day. Why do they burrow? To avoid extreme heat. Okay. So what's a limiting factor? Water, obviously. And I wouldn't say heat is a limiting factor. Heat is just a factor. Environmental problems. Just keep in mind that because we have climate change, biomes that are generally grasslands are becoming desert-like. So it's called expansion of deserts. That's the environmental problem for deserts. And what is the solution to climate change? Switching from burning fossil fuels to renewable energy, because fossil fuels are the leading contributor to excess carbon dioxide or methane, which are greenhouse gases. Now, tundra. Only difference, they're both dry. And by dry, I mean less than 25 centimeters of rain annually. But they could be anywhere, like there could be periods where they receive like 30 or 40, but annually less than 25. But the tundra is freezing. They have frozen soil. This freezing temperature leads to frozen soil, which only thaws during the short summer, which is like 2 months. It's still freezing. But when it thaws is when the soil regenerates nutrients and there could be a little bit of plant growth. This is what is considered the most fragile biome. Right here, I wrote it. Very important. I'm going to actually make this bold. It's a fragile biome because there's little decomposition and little chance for regeneration. What are some factors for plants and animals? Plants are going to be short, clumped. For heat, they stay close to the ground. Animals will have white, thick fur, blubber. They hibernate and migrate. Any biome that's cold, a characteristic is going to be white fur, migration, hibernation. Keep that in mind because it's the same. What is the biggest environmental problem in the tundra? Is climate change and the positive feedback loop of the permafrost melting. So permafrost melts, releases greenhouse gases, primarily methane. Methane will warm Earth, cause more melting of the permafrost, which leads to more release of methane, and it's a continuous thing. Other issues is oil pipelines. There's oil in the tundra, so we make these pipelines, and it impacts actually migration patterns of organisms. Also, carbon sinks. There's carbon sinks in the forest. There's carbon sinks in the tundra because of the permafrost. There's going to be carbon sink wherever there's high primary productivity. But why is it in the tundra? Because there's sequestered carbon in the frozen soil. Okay, so that's a unique thing to the tundra. That's kind of, I'm not going to even ask you any questions on that right now, and if I do, I'm going to relate to it. All you have to know about the chaparral is it is a dry grassland. So it is in between desert and grasslands. That's all you have to know. Limiting factor is that there's heavy periods of drought, like typical deserts and tropical grasslands. And you want to know that that leads to fires. Okay, so brings me to grasslands. What is a common ground between grasslands? That they have high levels of groundwater underneath grasslands because they receive average temperature, average precipitation. Tropical will have longer periods of droughts because think of it, it's warmer. But they both go through desertification, which is the conversion of a grassland to desert. The difference is why. Tropical would be because of periods of drought and overgrazing of animals that live in the tropical grassland. I'm adding that, which I'll go over in a minute. Temperate grasslands will have desertification due to poor farming techniques and grazing of animals like cows. So we were talking about animals that live in a farm. Similarity that they have a lot of grass, and grass is the primary food. So you're going to have a lot of herbivores. And something I didn't put here, but I'm going to add to the video, is that these animals, let me warp this format wrapping. A lot of animals here have what we call competitive exclusion because they're trying to go for the same resource. So what they do is occupy varying niches, like I'll eat the short grass, you eat the clumped grass, things like that. All right, so grasslands, average temperature, average precipitation, but the tropical is warmer and it has long periods of drought. That's how you know the difference. When you see the word tropical grassland, you think of savannas, AKA savanna. I don't know if that's anywhere in here, but I'm going to put it right here. A savanna is where you see, where you go to an African safari. So you see zebras, elephants. Limiting factor is the periods of drought. And here's the overlapping niches, like I said. And biggest environmental problem here is going to be overgrazing, desertification, like I said on the top, and poaching, which is killing for these animals. Don't forget to read solutions, okay? I didn't record that in my videos, but obviously poaching laws, rotational grazing, so adding fencing. Same thing is going to be here. Same thing, except the leading cause is poor farming, poor grazing of farm animals, and also urbanization. So forests become grasslands because forests are destroyed. The number one reason is to create a grassland for farming. Farmlands become urban lands to grow cities. Okay, so that's the chain of command. All right, so now we're on forest. Oh, I kind of skipped temperate. Temperate, rich soil. It's where all our farms are. Because of this ideal climate, we have the perfect soil. We have the perfect land to grow crops. Okay, speaking of rich soil, deciduous is my temperate forest, and it has 4 seasons. So it sheds leaves in the fall, and this shedding of leaf leads to what we call leaf litter, which is dead leaves, like a pile of them, and they decompose and they provide nutrients for the soil. So it's a cycling dream, right? You have all the seasons, all the perfect cycling of nutrients to restore the forest. This is why a deciduous forest has hardwood trees. It is the only forest that is not evergreen trees because it sheds its leaf. Because it has all 4 seasons, you're going to have variations of characteristics of animals and plants. The main thing you want to know is this forest sheds leaves, and it's due to the 4 seasons. Biggest problem is deforestation, and the number one reason is to create farmlands. The solution, best solution is replanting of trees, okay? And obviously setting laws. Let's go to coniferous. Think C for coniferous, C for cold, C for cone bearing. Other names of coniferous are taiga and boreal. The coniferous, like any forest, will have rain, but this rain will mainly be snow because the temperatures are colder most of the year. The soil is acidic because the cone or conifer needles have a waxy coating on them. And even though they are evergreen trees, as it says here, the trees fall due to heavy snowfall, and the wax buildup in the soil makes the soil acidic. Biggest problem for a coniferous forest is also deforestation, but we do it for paper or lumber. We don't do it to grow farmlands. You can't grow farmlands where the weather's cold. The last forest is rainforest, heaviest rainfall of all the forests. Evergreen trees in this forest as well. I didn't put that here, but I'm going to add it. Evergreen broadleaf trees. Precipitation heavy, and because it's a tropical forest, it's a little warmer. The soil is actually poor. What a lot of people miss this on the test. I'm going to actually bold it for you. Poor. Why is it poor? There's two reasons. One, it is an ideal climate for decomposition to occur. So decomposers recycle nutrients rapidly, and the forest is rich in life and rich in nutrients, but the soil's not. The second reason is because it rains almost all year round, a lot. The rain washes away the nutrients from the soil. Please keep in mind that the rainforest has layers, emergent being the highest, canopy being what it looks like, a canopy like the canopies you put in your backyard. Under that is the understory, and under that is the floor. This variation of light leads to variation of life, and that's why the rainforest is the most diverse of all the biomes, because there's so much opportunity for life. I put here a little bit of each zone. Most species diversity, that should be in bold because that's a test question. Number one reason for deforestation is to create farmlands. And for the wood, keep in mind that deciduous, number one reason is to create farmlands. Number two is wood also. And the wood here is great wood because it's oak and maple. And then obviously reforestation and laws are the solution.